Joseph, this is not my little Mary." It saddened young Margaret that the prophet and his wife Emma had lost so many children of their own. Their last young child had died shortly after Margaret's mother had given birth to twin baby girls. One day Margaret heard the prophet talking to her mother in the kitchen. He asked if she would let him borrow one of the twin girls to help comfort Emma. "You may take one home with you, as long as you bring her back each night," Margaret's mother said. She handed him little Mary. Margaret watched as he gently wrapped a quilt around the baby, and cooing to her opened the door and left. True to his word, the prophet returned little Mary every night, except for one. Margaret's mother was nervous when he didn't come at his usual time. She decided to go check on the babe and hurried away to the prophet's home. Soon afterward, mother and the prophet returned with little Mary. Margaret heard him explaining again that Mary had been cranky. He had been trying to calm her down before he returned her. The next morning the prophet arrived as usual. Margaret's mother handed him Sarah instead of Mary, thinking he would not know which baby he was holding. Sarah and Mary were identical. Even some family members couldn't tell them apart. After gently cuddling the child, the prophet looked down at her face and then slowly shook his head. "This is not my little Mary," he said. After the prophet left with Mary, Margaret said, "He must really study Mary's face in order to tell the difference between her and little Sarah." She noticed her mother blotting her eyes with the hem of her apron. Sadly, a short time later, Mary was called to return home to her Heavenly Father. Margaret was sitting at the kitchen table when the prophet arrived. Little Mary's body lay quiet and still in her cradle. The prophet rushed to pick her cold form up in his arms. He cried as if he had lost one of his own children. Again and again he whispered, "Mary, oh my dear little Mary." Margaret went to where her mother stood sobbing and softly said, "See how much he loved her, Mother, just as he loves all children." It is right that he is often called the loving friend of children.